John Marston. I ain't the judge, but it turns out it's either me or you. The way I see it, might as well be you. Hey, this is Tom with Costume Bot, and today I'm going to walk you through this John Marston costume that I put together. John Marston is the protagonist in Rockstar Games' Red Dead Redemption video game. I like the game a lot, so I decided I wanted to put together this costume for Halloween, and I thought I'd share with you how I went about doing it. Now, anytime you create a costume based on a video game character, there's going to be a certain level of interpretation involved because the character hasn't really existed in the real world. The costume elements were just created out of someone's mind and didn't have to actually exist. As long as you get the details right, you can walk away from this with a really great looking costume. Marston's hat is probably the most iconic part of the costume. It looks a lot like an Australian outback sort of cowboy hat, sort of a leather style hat, but I don't think Marston would wear a leather hat, so I went with just a gambler style felt hat. The gambler style hat has a flat top. It does have a little groove around the top, which Marston's doesn't have. But other than that, it really does look a lot like it. I found this one on eBay, and it even had a hat band that was vaguely reminiscent of Marston's hat band, so that's what I went with. A couple things I had to change. I had to cut notches in it. I had to weather it. I used pastels. I just wiped brown and sort of flesh color pastels on my hands and then just handled the hat. The other thing that I added here is the feather. I couldn't find a feather that was exactly like this. I believe it's supposed to be a hawk feather in the game. But I did find a good picture of a hawk feather online, so I just printed that out on a piece of paper and cut it out and taped it to the hat, and it's amazing how real it looks. Moving down, I did really simple makeup. I just used some of those same pastels and just drew these scar lines after I'd shaved out a portion of my beard. I added 2 scar lines in the beard and 1 scar line on the bridge of my nose, and that's pretty much it. You can go as far with that as you want. You could do textured makeup effects, but in person this actually looks real. The next thing is the shirt. This is just a plain tan cotton shirt, long sleeves, so that you can roll up the sleeves. You can roll up the sleeves just below the elbow. Then there's the jacket. I used an 80s era black denim jacket that I just cut most of the sleeves out of. If you look in the game, it looks like the jacket could be leather, depending on the way the light hits it in a particular scene. But I really didn't want to tear up a leather jacket. And besides, I think, the fraying at the edges of the sleeves, these cap sleeves, in the game indicates that it's something other than leather. It looks like black denim to me, so that's what I stuck with. There also is some stitching on the shoulder where he repaired the jacket at the seam there. Now the seam on this jacket is a little higher, but I went ahead and added the stitching anyway, because like I say, the details really do matter. The next thing is the pants. You want to get some ill-fitting jeans in as dark a blue as you can find. Now at the bottom of his pants legs, he has a lot of mud and dirt. You're welcome to add that. I haven't added that to these yet. He also has a patch, like a sewn patch on his right knee. You can't really see it well during the game. In fact, I only saw it when I was looking at screen caps. The next thing is the belt. I just bought a really cheap belt off eBay. I weathered it with some sandpaper, making sure I got the edges worn pretty well. And then I bought a cheap oval cowboy style belt buckle. His belt buckle in the game is silver and has a floral pattern. Can't really tell the details of it all that well in the game, but it looks something like this, so that's what I'm going with. Next up is the gun belt and gun. This is probably, next to the hat, the most important selection. This is a Buscadero holster. I did some weathering to it. That's really all that I did to change it. It looks a lot like Marston's. It's got the heavily tooled floral pattern that his has. It only has 1 strap across the holster, whereas Marston's had 2. I got some extra bullets for the Denix replica revolver that I carry in the holster, and loaded those in the back. Now this holster was designed to hold .45 caliber ammunition, and the replica ammunition isn't quite the same size as that because Basically, Denix doesn't want you loading real bullets into their replica gun. I had to wrap those in some electrical tape in order to get them to kind of hold on to those loops, but it looks pretty good once it's all together. The weapon itself is a replica of a Schofield revolver. It's a fairly decent replica. It's got a pretty heavy weight to it, and it has the replica bullets that fit into it, and I think it looks really good. Next up are the gloves. These are basically Nomex flight gloves that I use with my Stormtrooper costume. Marston wears leather riding gloves in the game. The fabric on these looks a lot like wool, so they look like they're basically of the same period, and they have the same cut to them as the gloves that Marston wears, so that's what I chose to go with. The next thing is this man purse that Marston kind of carries around. I found this on eBay. I had to do some modifications to it, kind of make it the right size and to kind of fix the shoulder strap. It had these big metal rings, and I removed those and kind of just did some other minor modifications. This had been handmade by someone. It was a one-of-a-kind item. I just happened to find it on eBay. The last things are the cowboy boots and the spurs. I had these already, and they were already well worn. And I managed to find these spurs on eBay at a really, really low price that included the spur straps. You want to make sure that the spur wheel points down on these. You want to make sure you can put them on the heels that way. So that's pretty much it. That's the John Marston costume. Hope you have a happy Halloween, and see you around. Wouldn't make a very good cowboy, because I can't load the gun fast enough and I dropped the bullets on it.